Hello, everyone. My name is Anna Roisman. I'm managing Testmasters Academy. And today we're starting the new series of webinars and roundtables on hot issues and hot topics in software testing and quality assurance. Today I'm joined by 4 wonderful people who I met throughout the events of Testmasters Academy. And they all have been speakers or will be speakers. And there is an upcoming conference, Contest NYC. It's happening in November 14th through 16 in New York. You can find the registration information on testmastersacademy.org. Please join us. We're gonna have Camilla, Israel, and Dmitry speaking at the conference. And also Lalit is here as well. He was speaking at my last conference. And we are gathering here because Lalit was the owner of the session, which was called How to Make Whole Team Testing Successful. And what I heard from it is when Lalit did this session, it's a half-day tutorial. First of all, I know there was a lot of signees, meaning that this topic is hot and is frustrating because testers oftentimes do not know how to make whole team testing successful, which kind of leads us into the kind of this field of how to make the whole team understand quality and be the advocates for quality. So I'm gonna go around the room right now and ask everyone to first introduce yourself, tell us where you're coming from, what do you do, and how do you understand whole team quality? And we're gonna start with Lalit.
Well, what I do, I'm working as a senior test engineer at Zing. It's a social networking, professional networking platform, pretty much popular in Europe. How I understand whole team testing, I think it includes itself in a name that everybody in team, no matter it's a programmer, UX designer, PO, or even your team lead, whoever is contributing to development of the product, understand software quality and has necessary skills to contribute to it.
All right, and the next one is Dmitry.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Dmitry. I currently work in Canada, Vancouver. I'm a lead software engineer at Salesforce. And so what the quality, so the whole team quality, I mean, it's similar to what Lalit said, but for me, yeah, it's not necessarily, it's obviously that all roles in the team have to collaborate to come up with the, for example, what we do is we review task plans together, even if a single or just a couple of people initially worked on it, or we do exploratory testing together. It's all about making sure that we share knowledge while doing these sessions. And we have to all own the quality of the software that we ship to the customer. So that's basically, for me, the quality for the whole team.
And Israel.
Hi, my name is Israel, and I'm a product manager at Incredibuild. I think that when the whole team is sharing the same goal and the same motivation, this is the basic for a successful team. Everyone should know their job and they should respect their colleague. The developer should respect the QA and the QA should respect the developer time and the DevOps guy. And they all should work in some kind of synergy to make the goal happen.
And Camilla.
Hi, so I'm Camilla. I'm from Poland, where I work for a company called Objectivity. And my role there is a senior quality engineer. So the closest person about the whole team testing is Dmitry, because I agree 100%, is how I understand it, is that everyone contribute as they can into quality. They really care about the software and the quality, and they do their best just to achieve this.
Great. So naturally, because you're all here, this topic is very close to your heart. So what are the challenges that you have encountered with whole team quality? Anybody could speak, it's okay. No.
I can start. So one of the recent challenges that we had to address was I've mentioned this before, but the idea of ownership. The problem I've seen is that, for example, if a single or just maybe two people or so are working on the specific feature, specific epic, they might sometimes feel that, okay, so we basically, as just two of us, own this functionality, we ship it end to end. And if anything goes wrong, if a senior people or managers come in and they might be blaming those two people, which I definitely disagree with. And the whole idea of ownership that I'm trying to push within the team, along with everyone in the team, is that the entire team is shipping that feature, regardless of who actually implemented it. So that basically idea of ownership we had to discuss in length, including managers who had a problem with that initially. And so as a result, we agreed that even though we have people who implement, people who test directly, we as a team gonna work on the shipment of the software as a whole rather than just the individual pieces, and we as a team own it. So that was the main challenge we addressed recently and worked on.
Thank you. What are the challenges you guys see in whole team quality?
I must speak about something funny or maybe sad that's happening within my team of testers, is that even though we have this shared feeling of that we all own quality, that we are all responsible of what is the end result, I see testers struggling with this feeling that they will blame me if anything fails. So I see testers like really scared during the deployment, or they are really they're very unsure when they are like signing that, okay, I feel this software is fine. It's something of a mindset of a tester that we still somewhere in the back of our head feel the response of ownership. We do not accept that it's shared within the whole team. Moreover, we were asked about our customer once that who tested it, and I saw that all testers were like struggling, like, oh no, they will blame me. But no, the only thing that customer wanted to know was what was tested, when did the software fail, and what was the test result. They didn't want to blame anyone, but all the testers were like trembling in fear. So I see that still something is wrong with the mindset of us, of testers.
Cool. Israel.
I can say that in addition to what Camilla said, and this happens all the time, and I have years in the QA team, and in the last few years, I moved to the product team, to the product side, and the QA is the gatekeeper, but he is not the only one. In the agile methodology, there is the definition of done, and the QA is doing the most important thing, but you have a product manager who should go over and make sure that everything is okay. You have the R&D manager, you have his own team leader, you have maybe a UX expert or UI expert, you have the developer. All those personas, all those stakeholders should have the same blame if something goes wrong. The QA is not the only one who should be signing the release or signing the new version. So I think it's a mistake to blame the QA and have the environment that the QA is responsible for everything. Everyone, each stakeholder that released a feature, that released a new version, and a few weeks, a few minutes after the deployment, there is a bug or a defect, it's everyone blame. It's not only the QA.
I might add to that. I had this funny moment within my work that I had a really rough talk with my project manager, because what I saw is that he pushed forward my recommendations without even checking them. And I said, like, okay, those are my recommendations as a QA, but please, could you go through this, look at it with your eye, with your expertise, and do not push forward on this mail. Just check it, please, because you're also responsible for that. Because if you come back to me that something went wrong, it's like, okay, did you check it?
Yes, yeah, he should check it. He should be counting on you, but he have to have his common sense. He have to not forward it straight away. You need to go over just to make sure that everything is okay. It's okay that he's counting on you. It's great, but you know, another two eyes just making sure that everything is okay.
Well, my understanding of all these things shared, I totally agree with them. While I was fighting my own war for pushing forward for whole team quality, I encountered all these challenges, but the way I understand is I look at them more as a symptoms of some other problems that are there. And by that, what I mean is when I try to dissect them and really deep down, dig it further, I realize that it's more about very narrow-minded understanding and vision of software quality, which non-traditional testing roles have. So I have fought this war on different levels. So discussion with developers, they think code is the whole thing. Sometimes PO has different understanding of software quality. Sometimes even team leads who are typically developers with very little background of software testing, their understanding of software quality is more about just automation, production deployments, monitoring, and logjam. And this very narrow-minded vision of software quality makes it very difficult for testers to explain their work to others and add more value and onboard more people to really understand and contribute to a great quality for developing software further. And this has been the biggest challenge I have faced whenever I try to push for whole team quality.
So if I may add a bit to this, what I've noticed in many teams, the problem, especially when I travel to Europe for some conferences, I've noticed that there is still that very strong separation between developers and testers. And what I've seen sometimes to the extent of I'm a developer, I implement the code, then I basically give that code over to the tester. Hence, I also give the responsibility over that code now. It's off my hands. I don't deal with it anymore. I move to the next feature. And it's tester role now to handle it, to own it, to be responsible for it, to be blamed for it. And that's a problem that some companies trying to address by implementing the hybrid model where everyone is a software engineer. Some companies, like for example, the team I'm working on, what we've been doing is we established quite a few rules that when I'm as a developer implementing a feature, I have to put in place unit tests. I know it's kind of obvious, but when you make sure that every code review has a number of unit tests shipped along with the test, it actually, along with the feature, it makes a huge difference. And the second most important part is this code review, the initial code review. As a developer, I'm actually responsible to put the initial set of basic sanity end-to-end tests as well. So hence, I started sharing the tests from the very beginning as a developer, and then the tester will come in and we would share that responsibility throughout the release cycle, throughout the deployment, the software engineering cycle.
I can totally relate to that, and I would just like to add one more observation that I experienced. So typically, when you have freelancers as programmers working for your team, it's very difficult for it's very difficult to expect from them to, they would add also to quality efforts for the team. I don't know if it is because the contract doesn't clearly mention, so it's just a mindset, but I've experienced people finding this is not my job, this is not part of my contract, this is not what I'm getting paid for why should I do it? So again, it boils down to the mindset thing. As long as people don't understand that quality has to be achieved in all levels and not just by programmer testers doing this job, I think this fight is going to be there.
Totally agree. That's why I see many big corporations in America, for example, are moving away from complete outsourcing. And if you read the Martin Fowler, he talks about the team they've built in India, for example, and he realized that for the success of the entire release cycle, you have to get everyone co-located in that particular region. So if you have a team in India, developers and project managers and UX people have to be in India. Even maybe not in the same office, but the same time zone, so the collaboration and their freelancers not going to cut it this way.
True.
Still, I consider this a huge problem because when I think about people caring for quality, it's kind of even obvious. You know the success of IKEA. You build it, you own it, you love it. This is the thing with IKEA, and the same should be with the software. You build it, it's working, everyone is happy, and you should be happy. So for me, explaining each developer that they should care for quality is like, come on, people should be happy with what you've done, that you've done the best possible way. So I sat a lot of times just talking to developers, even those that are on different contracts with our company, and I explain them, you see, this is why people are going to these developers. They have a lot of work, they have a lot of collaboration because they care about what they do. If this is what is expected, why you don't care about it? Why you don't test it? Why you don't prepare the data that you will check on? So I think that something is very, very wrong with those that are just doing what they have in a contract and pushing it forward, especially that it's not the end of their job. We are just as servants. We are just helping with our expertise of checking what they did, if this is as expected. We are not performing like next step. We are just helping them, in fact.
Is whole team quality something that you will need to explain to the whole team? How does it work? Is it right for the tester? Is its role like quality advocate is right for the tester? And if it's right for the tester, how would you go about that? What do you need? What do you need? Do you need to be loved, respected? What is it? How do you make everybody succeed in it?
I personally think that whenever there is any sort of team decision that need to be made, you need to have the entire team involved. Similarly, how the retrospectives are done, you have the whole team together in the comfortable, space where they are, feel free to talk. And you basically go around the table. There has to be, of course, a facilitator. Obviously, hopefully in the scenario like which you highlighted, that person, the facilitator, knows a bit more about the software quality, but this person doesn't necessarily pushes for a certain agenda. I'm as a facilitator, I would prompt someone, what do you think about the quality for the team as a whole? What would you consider that to be it? And, we would basically combine our ideas. But an important thing I have to mention, whenever you go around the table, always have the interjection asking who has a bit of different opinion, because it's very easy to say the same over and over, but you ask who has a slightly different opinion or who disagrees. So that's what I feel like is the way to implement it in the team, the whole team quality.
Israel, what do you think? How to make everybody else be on the same page with you? You being as a tester, or you being as a person who cares about the quality?
I oh,
Yeah,
sorry,
go,
I
go.
thought it was a question for me directly. Israel, go ahead, please.
Okay. I think that, and it's related to what you said a few minutes ago, that once the QA, the developer, the DevOps, all these stakeholders, all the guys feeling that they belong to the product, they have the same motivation, even the basic stuff, they paid enough, they are getting nice salary, they are getting the right care from their boss, and they feel that they are doing something that is good, they will be one team, and they will have motivation to do their best. But once the QA or the developer don't feel that he have enough motivation, don't think he get paid enough, don't. I saw developers doing some really, I'm sorry for the word, but crappy code or spaghetti code because they feel that this technology is old, so they don't see why they should invest time in such an old technology. My recommend for this team leader, for the guy team leader, is to release this guy, to send him to another project, maybe even from the company, because at the end of the day, this guy will hurt the entire team. We need just one team member that don't see the motivation, don't see the goal, don't have the inspiration to do his best, and it will affect all the other team. So you need to make this motivation. You need to inspire on everyone. It can be the R&D manager, it can be the team leader, it can be anyone that have inspiration all over the team, and make them together, make them one team. Share with the team about new deals, about new things, about new features, about the goal. Share with the team, make them feel like their opinion is really, really important. I can say, for example, that when I'm thinking about a new feature, a big feature, so we have a meeting with all the team leaders and all the important people, I can say, in the group, and I keep inviting developers, 2 or 3 developers to be in the room. And the first thing that I open my presentation is telling them that they can speak freely. Although their team leader and the boss of their team leader is in the room, I really appreciate their opinion. This make them feel that like they are just as one of us, and they telling this to their friends, and maybe next month their friends will be in those meetings. And this is one of the tips that I can say that truly makes our team one joint team.
That's a great, so I'm hearing it from Dmitry and from you, Israel, right now. And this is something new. I didn't hear that before, because everybody talks about whole team quality and everything, but to me, motivation would be the key point. Without that, it's not going to happen. Camilla, what do you think? Because I remember one of your talks is about the team of motivated individuals and something went wrong.
So
yeah.
Whenever I heard of you talking, and something you asked, Anna, was very important for me, because you asked if this comes that you need to be respected, and my answer is yes. You need to have this cooperation. If you, as a tester, as just tester within a team, want to implement a whole team quality, then you need to have the support of those bosses, because even if you're amazingly motivated person and you have amazingly motivated people around you, when they see the superior, I don't know, officer, the project manager coming and blaming you as a tester for something that's happening, if they see that someone does not care for the quality, they will also not care for the quality. So somehow the example, at least whenever I encountered the teams, the example comes from above. whatever the project managers, client, team leaders care for the quality and they hold the whole team accountable for it, then everything is running smoothly, then everything is running fine. But I had some teams that were not that keen into quality, and the issue were above. There was like a CTO of company coming into the room and blaming me for number of defects. Then they see, oh, we shouldn't have that much defects. We shouldn't care for the quality that much. So I think that if you want to start, either you should be respected as a tester, as someone with a high competence, or you should have the support of project managers, client, or someone above you into implementing it. Then it's happening kind of on its own because people want to have this beautiful piece of code. In fact, it's like the motivation often is there, but it's sometimes suppressed by laziness.
Is that something that so motivation is on my list now as a number one. Teamwork probably is the second one, right? So even if this big boss is coming and blaming you, there should be teams saying, no, we're all responsible for that, right? Is that something that we can request, ask for, strive for, something like that?
I would love to see that. I would love that. It's very important, but I see that we also should work with our boss as well, included in the team.
Lalit, what do you think?
I would share my experience. So I was doing this workshop for whole team testing, especially with programmers and non-testers. And my key takeaway from my workshop was that it's kind of unfair just to expect from these non-testing roles to respect testing, understand it, contribute to it. Why? Because I feel testers have equal opportunity and equal responsibility on their shoulders to understand their world so that they also feel understood by you. So unfortunately, the way testing has been happening traditionally, I think we have lost the respect, and the crappy testing script monkey mentality that has been happening over years has contributed to loss of respect, the bottlenecking methodologies. And testers do need to fight their battle in order to earn the respect first. And once they do that, what remains more is the interactional expertise that I always talk about. It's the ability to talk about testing and their work in a different ways, in different terms to different stakeholders so that they feel understood. And this is where you share and build a common understanding and create this feeling of shared responsibility. You have to show as a tester understanding for their word. You got to speak their language first, and you got to speak about your craft in their language so that they can relate to you and make sense out of what you're trying to say. So this is just not one-way process. Testers also have to make an effort to be heard and to be understood by showing more compassion and empathy for other roles and what they do and the language they speak.
Is there a way to find this common language? What does that language consist of? What are we talking about here? Terms, understanding what? What is it?
I personally started to understand their craft before selling my stories and before expecting from them to understand my work. I started showing more interest in what they were doing. I started pairing with programmers. I started debugging codes. I started looking in production logs and monitoring the logs, understanding them. I started pairing with them in debugging and understanding how they are debugging things. So this is how I started. What I can do as a tester to make their life easy, how I can share their part of responsibilities. Typically, we testers are just finding bugs, reporting them with steps to reproduce, but I personally feel that's not just enough. As a tester, we can always go deep down, do some deep technical investigation and help them figure out what's going wrong, where it is wrong, and what is more information that you can provide them. So part of their job is also done, and they feel understood because you're helping them and speaking their language. Other efforts would be asking them and doing unit test review with them. So this is what I had started doing. I did not have deep understanding of what the code was doing with, but I could at least understand the unit test, and I could ask them questions. Okay, why this thing is not done this way? Why you're not following your own semantic? Why this thing is named this way here, but for other places you are using different naming conventions? And all these things helped me to initiate a rapport with them where we could speak and understand each other's language. And this is how I slowly introduced them to my craft, sharing some interesting talk from testing, sharing some interesting blog that was dedicated more for how programmers can test. And this is how we started a communication. So it was both ways, not just one way thing.
Dmitry, how does it work in your team? You seem to be doing very similar things, or are you all engineers? How do you understand each other? Yeah.
So in terms of speaking the same language, I cannot agree more. The thing is, it's basically the concept I try to talk for the past year about quite a few conferences. It's the idea of domain-driven design, domain-driven testing. The whole point is to make sure that, as Lalit said, basically, you all speak the same language. That's the whole point of domain-driven design as a whole. For example, if I say an account, and I'm working in an accounting system, it's going to be completely different from the account in authentication system. You have to understand that when you refer to accounts, you talk about exactly the same flow. Or there is no more of a waste of time during the meetings when someone says the persona is user and someone corrects you saying it's not a user, it's a customer. It's just those little details that we waste time on while not speaking the same language is what we're trying to eliminate. In our team, that's what we've been working on. We did quite a few. It's not this topic is fairly advanced in terms of there are lots of books written about it as domain-driven design, but you can easily digest it down to a few main points. So we did overview with the team, made sure everyone understands that. Basically, have a vocabulary that everyone in the team can use to speak the same language. So I'm completely on the same page when it comes to the pushing that within the team. But last thing though that I'd like to make sure that I highlight is basically what Israel was talking about as well. That idea of broken windows. It's a very known concept that if you have a nice neighborhood, but as soon as that neighborhood has one broken window, it all goes to a bad state really quickly. The graffiti will start to appear. People will start throwing out the garbage. It all starts with that single broken window. There was a very nice study done about it, but the same comes to the code. You have to lead by example. As a team lead, as a tester, as a developer, have to lead by example and show them, if I have a bad code, I'll spend some time refactoring and making it better. Even if it's not necessarily the goal of this change, I'm in that particular place, I see it looks bad, I'll make sure that it looks good. Similar, like I would pick up the garbage from the street if I'm passing on my neighborhood. So it's all about that, being responsible from the beginning till the end, on every single step of the way.
Great. Camila, regarding the speaking the same language, what's your experience? Are you doing that? Is that something that's important in your team? How do you find this, discover the same language with the other disciplines in your team?
Very, very important, especially that I'm not that much technical person. I'm really stick into my domain knowledge, so I'm very into domain-driven development. So, and still, I managed to find a common language with developers, especially that I serve them with the knowledge about the product. We often sit down and discuss what happened within the code, what did they implement. I let them tell me what they did, check if I understand it, and then if something happened, I found some bug, I get back to them and I show them this, and we talked, how did it happen, why did they miss this, what else they can have. Often I serve as a background story. So whenever they have new user story, I often give them the background. So what is happening, what they will be implementing from a business background, so they understand better and write better code, assume more about what is expected within the user story. So I'm highly about speaking the same language and cooperating, in fact, because this is what's building expertise and the sense of confidence within the people, both developers and testers.
So once, I think you hit on that interesting topic, speaking the same language and being technical. Some of testers on the team are not technical. And I found myself, when I have been on a team as a lead, to me, it was more beneficial to come to developer and say, could you describe to me how did you implement that logic? Just do the technical walkthrough on me, and then I can be more confident that I'm testing the right thing. And that won me respect from developers, I know for sure. But to me, I'm not writing the code, but I'm kind of comfortable with the code, and I've been doing some scripting too, so it's not like a big deal for me. And yes, I don't understand everything, but I can look smart when people talk to me technical details. But in general, what advice would you give to testers who are not too technicals, and how would they find that same language, like what to do? Advice, maybe they need to become technical, maybe they need to become a little bit technical. What the advice to the tester to win this respect from the other team members?
Ask questions. It's like my favorite one. So I'm not afraid to say that I'm not technical, so I ask questions. Whenever I do not understand, I just politely ask, can you simplify it? Can you explain this to me in a higher level? And after one explanation, when I encounter the same problem again, I'm like, aha, I know what it is. So it's really important to ask questions both to business and to developers, and moreover to admit that you do not know something. And people really like explaining and being kind of superior because they know something and explaining it to you. And this is how I'm going through my career, like people explaining me what's happening and how things are working.
Israel, what do you say? Same question. How to win respect if you're not too technical? Should you become more technical?
I think there is two sides, two answers that are one big answer. Like Camila mentioned, you should show interest in your product. You should ask the questions. You should ask again and again until you understand. It shows to the developer how much you are serious, how much you are passionate about the features, how much you want to succeed in your work. And it's okay to ask the same questions until you understand. Again, the goal here is identical. You want the product to succeed. And on the other hand, we should be more technical. This is a fact. And asking the questions make you more and more technical, understanding the entire answer and not just the answer, the question that you asked. You need to understand the full picture, not just understand one frame. And this as more as you are getting this knowledge, you will start asking the simple questions. You will move to the much more hard questions, and eventually you will be technical enough to start understand things that are in a very high level of technical issues. But again, the QA world today, as I see it, is going to a very technical aspect. I can see that, for example, our QA engineers are working on the same code. Their tests is in the code. They're working on the same IDE. same code source. They are using the same language of code, and we have QA guys that are now developers, since they are familiar with the code, since their technical skills are very high, and their goal was to move from the QA to the dev team. So I think this is eventually the QA that is not technical at all. In the near future, will have issues and problems getting to the technical side, to more reliable and more prestige positions, and the QA should be passionate about keep learning and learning more and more, and to be as much technical as he can.
That's an interesting point. And Dmitry, you're probably already there, right? What's your point on that?
So I'm totally agreeing with you guys that the assumptions that you might be making on your own and not asking questions would result most likely in some bugs. I believe I've read a paper recently which basically said that the implementation that wasn't necessarily following the requirements, or requirements weren't clear, were the results of majority of bugs that were shipped to the customer. And so as a tester, as you guys mentioned as well, quality people usually are the gatekeepers for the software as a whole. If we make an assumption as a gatekeeper that this person, for example, he or she might not have a passport, but I make an assumption that this person looks, German, and I just let them in, right? I should not be making assumption. I should check. I should ask question like a border patrol would. So I need to definitely stick to that role and don't feeling that I'm asking silly questions. One thing that I always stop interns when I'm working with them from saying that, oh, sorry, I have a stupid question. I don't like how it even sounds. There are no stupid questions. But obviously, I always tell them, make sure you do your homework. If there is a question that you can easily Google, which is not specific to your software, or there is documentation I gave you ahead of time, you should read it, you should Google it, you should try to do your research before asking over and over some questions that are generic enough. Those are the things that kind of making developers or other people mad, where you're asking questions that you should have done your homework on a little bit. At the beginning, it's all fine, but later on, it might be, annoying for everyone. Hence the, I've had one person once who's been asking questions constantly, everyone on the team, non-stop. But the problem was not that the person was asking questions. The problem was that this person wasn't expecting answers. By the time someone replies to this person would already move on and say, oh, yeah, I already figured it out, like a second later. And this person kept doing it. This would definitely put you in a spot. So always be cautious of that. And you just understand that you should be bringing something to the table. You might not be technical. It's not a problem. Why we want to have those quality people in the team, even in mine, which is hybrid. So we have everyone software engineer, not a tester or developer. The ex-testers bring their testing expertise that ex-developers might not have. And that's what we're looking for. Maybe not technicality necessary, but the idea that they are experts in their craft, and this is what they love doing. So that's basically my take on it.
Lalit, what's your take on it? Thank you, Dmitry.
I totally agree. As I said, it's always give and take. So if you want to get something, you better contribute. And yes, asking question is indeed important, but typically it would help if testers do their homework and also ask questions that people would probably like to answer. It's like playing dumb is not really a way to get into their hearts, but asking them questions that shows your own study, your own substance to understanding of the question or topic you're discussing with. And I think that's also one of the way to earn their respect. If you're asking them skillful questions, important questions, or tactful questions, they would definitely help you more with more interest, and that would help you definitely to earn more respect.
Great. I have probably the last point that I wanted to discuss with you guys, because this topic is so interesting. What we kind of coming up to is that the testers, with their abilities to understand probably the big picture, understand the product quality, inquiring about it. This is part of our job, right? To whether are we building the right product, are we building the product right? This is the quality advocacy as we know it. And this is something that we probably want to teach other team members. Pending they're motivated, as Israel said, if you're not motivated, you're not gonna listen. But if they are, how do you coach that? How do you introduce what people actually need to do? It's like, it's great that they understand, but if they don't have the skills to kind of like watch out for quality, look up, look after the quality processes, the quality code, the quality conversations, the quality communication, all of that. How would you encourage that? How would you coach that? Probably, to me, it seems that the testers become more in a lead position when it comes to quality. They should not be gatekeepers, and we all agree to that. But how do you make other people understand what you're talking about, what you're passionate about? How do you coach everybody else to do what you understand should be done? Any suggestions?
If you don't mind, I'll start. So
Yeah.
I would say the great place to start is, again, in a room full of your team, but I would say something different from Israel, what Israel mentioned before. I would try to avoid necessarily having people who put pressure on the team members, whether it's managers, project managers, or whoever from the top. And of course, and to know who might be of intimidation, I would talk to everyone on the team ahead of time to figure out what settings would be the most comfortable for them. And then I would start discussing what issues in our software quality caused us in the past. So not blaming anyone, and making sure that no one in the team is pointing fingers or anything, so controlling that kind of, and say if someone starts doing it, you say that's not the point, we're all responsible, how do we change that? You basically have to highlight what the problems we currently have because of lack of quality, because if there are no problems, there is no point of having this conversation. We're all great, we're awesome, perfection is achieved. So, and hence since we're already having this conversation, it means there were some problems that we need to address. Make sure it's clearer for the team. You have to reiterate that, show what the problem was, and say, don't say it's unacceptable, but just say, we all love this product, right? If we don't, we should just move on. Work is the majority of our lifetime, for that matter. So if you don't like the product, maybe let's work on another product. But assuming everyone loves it, let's make it better. So that's the whole point. We love the product, figure out what we're doing wrong, let's change that. Then we'll give everyone the motivation. That's my take on it.
Okay, cool. Camila, what's your take on it? How to coach everybody else?
I wish I knew. So really, the thing is that many people have different problems. Like for once, they do not maybe care fully about quality because it's just their job. They end up in work, writing their code, checking it, and going back home. For others, it's the lack of knowledge. They do not know how to test, how to check, how to move within our software. So for me, it's often different approaches with different people, depending on what is the problem they have, that they do not care about the quality. So for once it would be this motivation. For others, it would be teaching them, coaching them, learning about the product, building their confidence so they could move and do things independently without my supervisor. And for some, I still do not have the answer how to make them care about the quality, because they have the knowledge, they say they have the motivation, but still something is not ticking. So it's, for me, it's an open book. I would like to learn.
All right, Israel, what's your take on it? How to coach everybody else to care as you do? Israel, you with us?
Yes, I had some echo.
So is there how
I think that can
yeah, I think you're disappearing a little bit. So my question was, is there any advice how you coach everybody to be as passionate as you and have the skills like you do, when they in order for like the whole team to care about quality and look after it?
I think that can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so I think that if I'm joining what Dmitry and Camila said, I think that if someone don't know his position, if someone don't know why he's doing his job, then this is his boss problem, and his team leader or his manager should handle these cases by going to the point where why he doesn't understand, and asking the QA, the junior QA, the one that just finished his studies, his school, his university, and is now the junior, the new guy, and asking him about a new thing, about a new product, about a new design, getting his point of view, even if it's not worth a lot on, or even if it doesn't answer with something new that you didn't knew before, will keep him in the loop, will keep him very, very happy just to hear his voice, just to hear his opinion. This is one of the tricks, one of the tips, and the team leaders and the entire team should make it with the whole team, from the junior to the veteran, and we should show the juniors how much respect we give to the veterans, to the QA with all the experience. We have a few guys that have I don't know, like 20 or 25 years of experience in the QA, and although they are not in a position to make by the book the big decisions, they are always around those the decisions, and we are getting a lot of appreciate, because we are giving those guys a lot of respect, and the other guys and the other QA, the juniors, are looking at them and how much respect to give to them, and it also gives them motivation to be more technical, to have more experience, to consult with those guys, and this all things make them belong, make them think that they are have a joint goal, and this is what makes them really motivated.
Great. And Lalit, what's your take on test coaching leadership?
It's a very big topic, and same time pretty challenging one. But I can share what I tried. As Camilla rightly said, in my experience also, there is no better way than trying to understand their no. It's possible that different people are saying no or showing lack of interest for different reasons, and it doesn't make sense to offer them some solution or trying with some other way, which is absolutely something they cannot relate to. So I would first suggest that testers can use their power of observation, their understanding of the system around them, to figure out what works best with whom, and then they try to understand why somebody is saying no. Is it because they don't know? Is it because they don't respect it? Is it because they don't have skills? And understanding this information can help them figure out different ways for different people. On team level, I would say you can always use processes as a catalyst. So for example, we try to do things with implementing WIP limits in team, where everybody was forced to collaborate on testing when there were tickets in a lane and they were not moving because everything was piled up on tester. And this forced collaboration kind of forced people to open up and ask questions or show more interest in testing, so that they can push some tickets further and pull more for their own development. Gamification definitely helps. So whenever I was shown with more interest by some programmer for pairing with me or understanding how I'm testing, I used to give him badge and kind of hall of fame for that person, and that kind of triggered interest in other people too. So there is really no standard way, no silver bullet for this. You as a tester really have to observe your surrounding and figure out what is going to work and try multiple things. I'm sure at least some of those will work.
Thank you. So guys, thank you so much. It was a very, very learning experience for me, because when you think you know all the answers, then you talk to former people and you realize that you don't know half, and you learn a lot. What I would like to do now, I'm going to stop the recording, and for half an hour, please move into the events so we can have a little chat, kind of question and answers chat. I know Marco is here as well, and he can help me because we're doing it in a way like I'm trying this format that I hope will work. So we're gonna stop right now, and then please be in Slack for question and answers for another half an hour, or maybe late, like less or more, however you want. I just want to have a little bit of follow-up conversation. Okay, thank you so much. I'm gonna stop the recording now.